Hi, I'm Dr. Kyle Smith, and I want to share with you a presentation that I've shared with doctors across the country. About 8 years ago, I created a program to boost testosterone in men, and ultimately that program has evolved into a talk that I give called Building a Better Body Through Science: How Stress Causes Hormonal Disruption and Chronic Pain. Now that title is meant to be both for men and women, to be unisex, because what I found is the switch that turns testosterone off is the stress hormone cortisol. That same switch acts as a fat switch in a woman's body. When that fat switch is switched in the off position, her body will hold on to fat and won't let go of it. When you switch the switch back on, you can cause that woman to lose body fat around the belly, buttocks, hips, and thighs. And in many women, you can also create hormonal balance for them just like you can in men. So this testosterone switch program has really grown into a program that I teach to doctors for both men and women as a brand new way to improve lean body composition and manage hormonal health in older adults. Interestingly, older adults today is termed anyone older than 30. And I got to tell you, I'm in my 50s, so I think a 30-year-old is typically young, but we already start to see hormonal dysfunction in both women and men at the age of 30. So anyone above the age of 30, this talk really has a positive effect for them. In the talk I do for doctors, this is the very first slide that I start on, and I want to start with you with the same slide because it really sets the scene for how the stress hormone cortisol works for us in acute or short-term situations, but works against our hormonal health in long-term situations. So right now I want you to take a look at this slide, and I want you to imagine that this is you, that you're on this trail. Reality is, in this imaginary view, you're about 2 weeks into a vacation, and it's been a fantastic vacation. Every day of those 2 weeks, you get up right around sunrise, and you're on this trail. You're walking, jogging, running, whatever you prefer to do. And at this particular moment, you're looking at the sun, you got your arms in the sky, and you're saying, thank you, thank you, thank you to your Creator. Praise you for the blessings you've given me, my family, my health, the people that I know, love, and care about, my family, the people that I get to make a positive impact in. You're standing there in a place of gratitude at the sunrise with your arms up in the air. Can you imagine that? When you, as a human being, are standing right there at a place of gratitude, you are centered exactly the place where a human was built to be. A doctor calls this homeostasis, and what that means is everything in your life is normalized. You're at the exact right hormonal place you should be if you're otherwise healthy. Your hormones are exactly where they should be. There's no stress hormones. Everything's fantastic. If you could walk and live in this attitude of gratitude and praise each and every day, what we know definitively in science is you would age slower than the stressed people around you. That's an absolute scientific fact. We know that the stress hormone cortisol is ultimately a death hormone. But here's the funny part. It can actually serve us, and this is how it works. In this scenario, again, I want you to imagine you're in this place of gratitude, an attitude of gratitude, thankfulness, and I'm saying that's where human beings were created to be. Now I want you to imagine you hear a sound coming up behind you, and intuitively you know exactly what it is. You've never seen it or heard it really before, but intuitively it's already resonating with you. You turn around and look, and you see a grizzly bear coming at you full tilt, snarling with slobber coming out of its mouth. What do you do in that very moment? Do you wait to fight the grizzly bear? This is a lot like Leonardo DiCaprio in that movie Revenant, if you saw the movie. Do you wait to fight the bear, or do you run? You run, don't you? Now, do you run at half speed, or do you run at 100% of your capacity? You're running, let me tell you, at 110% of your capacity. But something miraculous is happening right now that your Creator empowered you with. And that is endorphins went off in your brain, adrenaline went off, norepinephrine, epinephrine. All these hormones, including the stress hormone cortisol, are coming to serve your brain and your body to save you from this attack. All of your blood is shunted away from digestion to your muscles where you need it to run. Right now, it's almost like everything's happening in slow motion. You're running. The scenery is moving slower, you're more accurate, you're faster, you're more coordinated than you've ever been in your entire life. You get to the top of that hill in the scene, and there's a clearing, and all these villagers come to your aid and save you from the grizzly bear. Fast forward 4 hours, you're at lunch with your family, your wife, your children, you're telling this story. that you're probably going to tell 1,000 more times in your lifetime. The reality is you're probably back in that place of gratitude because you just had a life-changing event, right? But you're alive today, you're relishing it, you're appreciative, you're at gratitude, you're back where doctors call homeostasis. 4 hours after the stressful event, all of your stress hormones came back to the normal position. Our Creator created that fight or flight syndrome or that fight or flight situation to equip you and enable you to run from that saber-toothed tiger or that grizzly bear or whatever threat is threatening your life at that moment. Everything in your physiology comes to serve you at that moment. But here's the deal. That experience is actually supposed to be extraordinarily rare. How often does a grizzly bear chase you? The fight or flight stress response was put together to aid you to get out of that situation that could probably cause your death. Everything comes on board to save you, and it works wonderfully, miraculously. It works every time. But here's the point. You're at lunch now with your family. All the stress hormones are back to normal, and you're feeling fantastic. You're at an attitude of gratitude again. That's how the stress response is supposed to work. But this right here is how the stress response is working today. According to the American Psychological Association, 77% of North Americans are stressed. And right here I always say, if 77% say they're stressed, the other 23% didn't understand the question or they lied. That's my view. Most people I know today live stressful, and you're going to see that in a second. It's really easy to psychologically create a stressful event that causes the stress hormone cortisol to go into the out of normal range. But here's the deal. According to the American Psychological Association, 77% of North Americans are stressed. Take a look at why they're stressed on this chart. You'll see the number one stressor in the United States today is money, finances, work, economy, relationships. All of us can relate to this kind of stuff. Family situations. Here's the deal. If a guy is stressed in the morning, let's say he's got a big gulp caffeinated beverage in his lap, and he's in traffic on the way to work, that's enough of a stressful event to create the stress hormone cortisol out of the normal range. When he goes to work, if he has any negative reaction with his coworkers, his bosses, he hates his work, that's another event that's stressful enough to cause cortisol to go out of the normal range. And then finally, when he comes home, if he has financial stress, family stress, maybe he's worried about the mortgage, maybe he's sick and tired of being sick and tired in the situation he's in, that's another event that's stressful enough to cause cortisol to go out of the normal range. And here's the problem with that. On this next slide, I want you to take a look at the right-hand quadrant of your screen. You see that big wheel? Stress, the stress hormone cortisol, is associated with over 150 gene disease association pathways. And what that means essentially is if you're chronically stressed day in and day out, hate your job, family stress, financial stress, whatever, you're setting yourself up to die of at least cancer or heart disease or 150 other gene disease association pathways. Stress kills North Americans. It's definitely the number one killer in the United States, maybe the world today, is the stress hormone cortisol. Take a look at the top left-hand part of your screen. Excess cortisol, which is again very easy to make. Anytime you're psychologically stressed, you can make excess cortisol. This powerfully influences your neuroendocrine system, your metabolism, your immune, and creates inflammatory responses from your head to your toes. In addition, if you're stressed often, the cumulative effects of excess cortisol create insulin resistance, glucose intolerance, what doctors call dysglycemia, diabetes, central adiposity, which means being overweight around your midsection. Have you noticed if you go to Walmart or the mall or any public place, many people today have a pear shape? That's called central adiposity. It's a direct result of excess cortisol. In addition, dyslipidemia means we have problems with the lipids, cholesterol. In addition, skeletal muscle wasting, osteoporosis, immune senescence, and dysfunction. Immune senescence is what it sounds like. Your immune system becomes senile. A senile immune system does not work like a younger immune system, and your health can fall apart right there too. Here's the deal. Lower left-hand part of your screen. Insulin sensitivity is what doctors call inversely correlated with plasma cortisol concentrations. And what that means is, to the degree you're stressed and cortisol goes up, your sensitivity to insulin goes down. And this is a major key. If your sensitivity to insulin is down, what do we call that? We call it diabetes. If you're not sensitive to insulin, your body has to overproduce insulin, or you have to take shots of insulin to make the system work. Ladies and gentlemen, what I'm saying to you is it's stress that's causing the epidemic of diabetes today. It's stress. It's not just soda pops and candies and sugars. That's a problem. It's stress plus the soda pop, the candies, and the sugars. The reality is we have an epidemic today of diabetes. You know that. We have an epidemic of diabetes existing right now and coming, and it occurs because we're chronically stressed. We've got to get this stress hormone under control or it literally will kill us. Chronic stress increases insulin, increases systemic metabolic stress from your head to toe. Every cell, organ, gland, and tissue in your system is stressed. It increases that weight around your midsection. It increases systemic inflammation and oxidative stress. That bullet is in red because we're going to come back to it. In addition, it increases telomere length shortening and immune cell senescence. I mentioned that before, but I want to go into some detail here. The immune cell senescence issue is a really big one today. Number one, it's something you're already familiar with. Think of this. If an 18-year-old guy is otherwise healthy and he gets the common flu, we're concerned about him. We know he's going to be inconvenienced, but we know a week from now he's going to be fine. If an 88-year-old man gets the same flu, think about it. We're concerned about that guy living through it. It's very likely a week or two later he'll have pneumonia, and that pneumonia can take his life. So the reality is, as we get older, as age goes up, we know our immune function goes down. That's just a normal fact of life, but this is the take-home message. What's causing that is the stress hormone cortisol. Now, there's another correlation that's incredible. Right now, researchers are looking at the fact that Alzheimer's disease is likely a dysfunction of the immune system within our heads, within our brains. You see, within the blood-brain barrier, our brain has its own immune system. And if this immune system becomes senile, it goes through senescence, it means it's not working as robustly as it used to, which means older individuals with immune systems within their brain that's not working right, their brains aren't detoxing from the toxic protein known as amyloid beta or beta amyloid that causes Alzheimer's disease. So here's the key. A poor immune system right now looks like it could be the very cause of Alzheimer's disease. So this issue of stress is devastating from head to toe. In addition to that, for your brain, did you know? Stress specifically kills neurons in the area of your brain known as the hippocampus, which is the seat of all learning and memory. And what that means specifically is the region of your brain dedicated to memory, every time you're stressed, that part of your memory, that part of your brain is literally destroyed or destructed. There's destruction occurring to those neurons. Neurons are dying in that region of your brain. This is why when an individual is stressed, they have memory problems, and they almost always are foggy. They're not clear-headed. All of that's occurring because of the chronic stress hormone cortisol. And this slide is the big kahuna for me. This is where this talk and other talks have resulted in attendance as much as 2,500 attendees at a time. Stress is inversely proportional to testosterone. And that means when stress goes up, testosterone goes down. In my book, The Testosterone Switch, this is the very name of the book. The testosterone switch is the stress hormone cortisol. Now, the wild thing is this switch is not like a dimmer switch on your wall that turns testosterone down. It's literally an on-off switch. When a man becomes stressed, the very first step of what's called steroidogenesis is interrupted by the stress hormone cortisol. So this guy that I mentioned earlier, he gets in his car to go to work every morning with a big caffeinated beverage, and he's in traffic. That's enough of a stressful event for cortisol to go up and testosterone to go down. If he goes to work and he's stressed at work, another stressful event causes cortisol to go up and testosterone to go down. You get the idea? This guy loses his testosterone as he ages to the stress hormone cortisol. Now take a look at this slide. This is incredibly telling. Testosterone deficiency today is epidemic. Take a look. The first bullet. In over 7,000 blood tests, more than 80% of men tested had less than optimal testosterone blood levels. In just a moment, we're going to take a look at what optimal really is. In the second bullet, ABC News, quoting the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism, stated 1 in 4 men over 30 has low testosterone. 1 in 4 men has low testosterone. In addition, conservatively, this translates to more than 16 million men suffering with low testosterone in the United States today. Nutritionally oriented doctors and nutritionists who are evaluating hormones in aging men, they often find otherwise healthy men in their 40s and 50s with less than half the testosterone of a healthy 30-year-old. Think of what that really means. A guy who's 40 or 50, he's literally half the man he used to be, but he has less than half the testosterone he used to have. Take a look at the lower right-hand quadrant of your screen. Even relatively mild testosterone inadequacy is associated with increased incidence of reductions in energy, motivation, initiative, self-confidence, concentration and memory, sleep quality, muscle bulk and strength, diminished physical or work performance, feeling sad or blue, depressed mood, and increased body fat and body mass index. Take a look at that again. Right there, we're describing low normal testosterone. We're not talking about low testosterone. Those symptoms are even more intense. This is just low normal testosterone. This is the bane, literally, of men today. Now, what is healthy testosterone? This next slide is intended to show you exactly that. First of all, I want you to notice the source. This came from the Journal of the American College of Cardiology, a very credible journal with regards to heart health. It's considered a premier publication today. They took a look at total testosterone levels, and they divided them into quartiles in a group of 2,416 men. What they found was quartile 4 had total testosterone above 550 nanograms per deciliter. Remember that, 550. Quartile 3 had total testosterone between 439 and 549 nanograms. Quartile 2 had total testosterone between 341 and 438 nanograms. Quartile 1 had total testosterone below 340 nanograms per deciliter. Take a close look at what they found. Quartiles 1, 2, and 3 had virtually the same risk of cardiac adverse events. That's like a heart attack. Higher levels of testosterone decrease prevalence of diabetes, hypertension, and body fat mass. In men with the highest quartile of total testosterone, above 550 nanograms per deciliter, they had a 30% lower risk of cardiovascular events. 550 nanograms per deciliter is the minimal baseline where total testosterone was shown to guard against heart attack and stroke. The protection remained consistent for cerebrovascular disease incidents where men in the highest total testosterone quartile, again quartile 4, they had a 24% reduced risk of transient ischemic attack or full-blown stroke. Here's the take-home message. According to the Journal of the American College of Cardiology, if your testosterone is anywhere below 550 nanograms per deciliter, you need to be running for a solution because you could literally drop dead of a heart attack or a stroke. The reality is the healthy level of testosterone needs to be anything above 550 nanograms. And I got to tell you, as I travel across the country, there are so many men, so many doctors even, that don't even know their testosterone levels when they're 30, 40, or 50 years of age. I happen to be one of those guys that fell into this category. I was 45, overweight, fatigued, lethargic, and had no idea it was my testosterone. The reality is when I fixed that, my life turned around. I began doing this talk, and everything changed for me professionally. This has been the most successful talk I've ever given, and I think you can see why. Men need to know this information. It's absolutely killing us to not know this information. On the next slide, take a look at this. Men in the United States aged 45 years or older, 38.7 had mid-morning serum total testosterone concentrations less than 300 nanograms per deciliter, 38.7%. This study estimates 13.8 million men suffer with testosterone concentrations less than 300 nanograms per deciliter, yet 550 nanograms is the minimal baseline where total testosterone was shown to guard against heart attack and stroke. I have to ask you again, do you know where your levels are? If you're a woman watching this, does your spouse, your husband, your boyfriend, do they know their levels? This is critical. Take a look at this. What are the consequences of having low serum testosterone concentrations? Men with low serum total testosterone concentrations were at significantly greater risk of death from any cancer, cardiovascular disease, or respiratory disease. Remaining life expectancy was directly correlated with serum total testosterone concentration. The risk for premature death from any cause or from cerebrovascular disease were inversely correlated with the serum total testosterone concentration. That means the higher testosterone, the lower chance of dying. The lower the testosterone, the higher chance of dying. That's how important this information is. Now I want you to take a close look. Where's the information been coming from that I've been sharing with you? It's all published, peer-reviewed science, medical journals. This is something your doctor should be talking to you about, but as I travel across the country, most doctors aren't even aware of the kind of risks that their patients are under today. So take a look at this. This is really a soapbox issue for me, and then I'll get off my soapbox. How can normal testosterone be anywhere from 348 nanograms to 1197 nanograms? Now, by the way, the values I'm using right now are LabCorp in my region, which is the South Central region of the United States. These values actually differ if you go to Quest or different diagnostic laboratories. They have different scales. But looking at this scale that LabCorp uses, they call normal testosterone anywhere between 348 and 1197 nanograms per deciliter. That means a guy that's 350 is normal. Now think of this. If a guy at 350 is, quote, normal, and a guy at 1,100 is normal, do you think they look the same? Do you think they feel the same? Heck no. There's one guy that has 1,100 nanograms per deciliter. This guy feels fantastic. He wakes up in the morning and he's practically feels in his mind like Hulk. He works out. He has improved muscle mass. This other poor guy works out twice as hard and nothing changes. He doesn't lose weight. He's fatigued. He's lethargic. Yet his doctor just told him in his testosterone test he is normal. Congratulations, go home. That's a problem. And we have information that says anybody below 550 nanograms could potentially die of a heart attack or stroke. In my opinion, that's criminal, but that's exactly what's going on today. So I'm telling you, if your doctor, quote, told you you're normal and you're at 350, oh my gosh, you could double that testosterone or triple that testosterone with this 30-day program that I'm talking about right here. Now look at this. Chronic stress accelerates biological aging. It increases systemic inflammation. It shortens telomere length. It promotes oxidative damage through the frequent and sustained activation of the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. We're going to look at that in some more detail in just a second. That's a big point. The next one is it promotes premature aging. In addition, and this is huge, that's why this bullet is a larger font, chronic stress actually reorganizes neural networks regulating neuroendocrine function, providing an anatomical basis for more excitable future cortisol responses to stress. What that means is amazing. It means a young guy, he gets stressed, his hormones go out of balance, but he comes right back to normal. An older guy, listen to this, he gets stressed easier, he stays stressed longer, which means his hormones go out of balance and they swim around out of balance for a real long time before they come back to the normal spot. Again, this is how we lose testosterone to the stress hormone cortisol as we age. As we age, we become easier or we become better at getting stressed, and that's a problem. Here's why this works the way it does, neurally. And this is, remember, brain health-wise has always been my fascination. Our Creator gave us this incredible, incredible neurophysiology. Our brain is what they call plastic, and it works like this. I'm 53 years of age right now at the time this video is being shot. If I sat down to play the piano, and let's say I practice every night for an hour, and I took lessons, if I practice every night for an hour, you would expect at the end of a year that I could play the piano, right? What happened to allow me to do that? The neural networks in my brain reorganized to create new pathways to make it easy for me to practice that skill. It's the gift our Creator gave us, which means we can learn practically anything at any age, 50, 60, 70, 80, younger, it doesn't matter. We can learn new skills. Here's the problem. That very same mechanism works against us when it comes to stress. Our brain doesn't seem to make a judgment about what's good or bad for us. So we're driving the train, meaning our mind is driving the train. If our brain sees that we got stressed, it actually makes it easier. It reformulates neural networks to make it easier for us to get stressed in the future. It's almost like we're practicing getting stressed. So here's the deal. We have to interrupt that as adults, or it will become a runaway train and literally age every cell, organ, gland, tissue in our body. Men lose testosterone to this. Women lose progesterone to this. It's called the progesterone steal. So the reality is we've got to take care of stress. Now, I wanted to pause on this bullet because it's absolutely huge. It's part of my brain health message. I am the bioenergetic nutrient guy. I teach people that we need to be consuming bioenergetic nutrients to support ATP formation. The reality is what bioenergetics do is they not only fuel the brain to produce ATP, which means they give us energy, but they also protect our mitochondria in our brain from oxidative damage. And when we're stressed, oxidative damage goes up specifically in the brain. Take a look at this. Oxidative damage, or basically chronic stress, promotes oxidative damage through frequent and sustained activation of the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. That's the stress axis. So here's the deal. Every time we're stressed, we have oxidative stress in our brain destroying mitochondria and destroying neurons. The key here is scientists tell us the mitochondrial theory of aging is the most likely way we basically lose our health as we age. The mitochondrial theory of aging states that when we're young, our brain is full of mitochondria, as many as 3,000 per neuron. But as we age, we start to lose mitochondria from head to toe. It's not a sudden loss, it's a very gradual loss of mitochondria. So when a guy is 60 years of age, he can't produce as much ATP as when he was 20 because he doesn't have as many mitochondria. So this is the key. The key to aging is likely taking care of these mitochondria, supporting them, and improving their environment. And that's where bioenergetic nutrients come in. If a person's stressed, one of the most important things they can do is consume bioenergetic nutrients each and every day to protect their brain from that stress. And the paramount biggest one is called acetyl L-carnitine. Take a look at this paper, published in the journal Nutrition by a very credible researcher. He states that if we maintain antioxidant balance in the brain, we can basically have cognitive longevity. We can keep our mental facilities as we age. I'm 53, like I mentioned earlier. I'd like my brain to work like I was 53 for the rest of my life if possible. This researcher states we hold that promise by what we consume dietarily and nutritionally each and every day. For those of us that know that antioxidants are incredibly important to slow the aging of mitochondria in our brain and body, and we consume a diet that's antioxidant rich, and we consume ingredients like acetyl L-carnitine, we can really, take a look at the quote, we can forestall or prevent cognitive decline and promote or advance cognitive longevity. That's incredible. So take a look at this right now. This ingredient, acetyl L-carnitine, in the same paper, the researcher states, results of parallel group, double-blind, randomized, placebo-controlled clinical trials show significant improvements in short-term learning ability, long-term memory recall, verbal skills, the accuracy of reactions, and the ability to recall number sequences after 6 months of daily dietary supplementation. That's a huge thing to remember. This ingredient, acetyl L-carnitine, doesn't make you Superman today. It won't make you Superman or woman tomorrow. You've got to consume it each and every day for 6 months for these benefits to begin to manifest, but they do manifest in the right population of people. Take a look at this for the grand finale on acetyl L-carnitine. If you're looking for the ultimate memory ingredient, the ingredient that literally helps your memory to work, take a look at this. Acetyl L-carnitine enhances the formation of short-term memory. It enhances the consolidation of long-term memory. It enhances the ability to create new memories. It enhances the ability to retrieve memories. It enhances the ability to learn. It enhances the ability to recall information, and it enhances the ability to reason and solve problems. Take a look at how many references substantiate those statements. 22 references substantiate those statements. This ingredient's well-researched, well-established, and proven for human health. So, that was a little bit of a rabbit trail. We're talking about fixing oxidative stress that's associated with stress itself. So the question is, how do we fix stress? Well, take a look at this. If I may, I'm going to give you some homework. You don't have to do this, but I'd like for you to do this. This video is incredible. It's authored by a PhD researcher from Stanford University by the name of Robert Sapolsky. He did this in concert with the National Geographic. It takes about an hour to watch, but it's not only entertaining, it's very telling about how stress causes aging of a mammalian body, of a body like a human body. It's an incredible video. I want you to watch that because you're going to glean from it the very secret to help to control stress in your life. And I'm going to mention it in just a second. So I want you to watch this video because you're going to glean information from it that's going to help you understand how to control stress in your life. This right here on the right-hand quadrant of your screen is one of the papers that Robert Sapolsky's published. And in the middle of that paper, if you can see on your screen, it gives you the secret. And this is key. Psychologically, an enhanced sense of control over your life is exactly what slows down the stress response psychologically in human beings. An enhanced sense of control. Now this is interesting. What it means is populations of people who feel like they're in control of their lives typically are less stressed than people who feel like they're not in control of their life. And if you think about most of the stressful situations in your life, it almost always comes because you perceive you don't have the kind of control over it as you wish. And there's a really interesting entry here. This is where religion, for example, like Christianity, comes in. To the degree a Christian gives his worries and his fears and his anxieties to his Creator, his enhanced sense of personal control happens because he knows his God is in control of his life. Well, the reality is for those people that do that, they actually fare better on tests of stress than people that have no Creator to pray to. And I think that's really important. So what I'm saying is prayer and religion serve human beings by causing them to be less stressed when they practice that religion. I think that's beautiful. In addition, I have this slide to share with you all of the different areas or all the different ways that you can control stress according to the internet. Exercise itself, it actually acts as a very powerful stress reset. It's almost like the fight or flight syndrome was put together for us to run and exert energy. To the degree we sit at a desk all day long and we don't run or exert energy, we don't complete the circuit. So exercise, especially high intensity exercise, is a way to complete the circuit and literally press the stress reset button. In addition, there's meditation. Literally taking just 10 minutes a day to meditate has been shown to reduce the stress hormone cortisol. In addition, there's an acupressure method called the King acupressure method, and I want to show that to you right now. It's kind of interesting. With the King acupressure method, you hold these two fingers together and you grab as much of these two fingers with your right hand as you possibly can and you squeeze down. Now, interestingly, when you do that, you may already feel stress reducing in your mind and body if you were stressed as you're watching this video. I hope you weren't, but if you were, this will reduce stress. If you'll do this and enhance it with closing your eyes and visualizing some beautiful meadow or peaceful place where you might want to go, it might be the beach, that'll further reduce stress. But it's interesting, holding these two fingers down together, grabbing as much of that as you can with your right hand and holding down, it actually compresses acupressure and acupuncture points associated with stress. This is a way to bring down your stress levels. So right after you talk to your boss, if you feel like blowing your top, you're angry, you're stressed, do this and you'll markedly decrease your cortisol levels and decrease your level of stress. There's spending time in nature. Taking walks in nature will reduce your stress and your cortisol levels. There's also music, listening to the right kind of music, probably not heavy metal, but that may work for you. The right kind of classical music has been shown to help reset their stress button and bring the stress hormone cortisol down. And finally, emotional freedom technique. This is incredibly valuable, and the best source to learn about what emotional freedom technique is to go to Mercola.com. He's put together a series of videos and papers and pamphlets that describe this in a wonderful way. This is definitely a stress reset. Okay, now we're getting to the really good stuff. Remember, I have a 3-step program that increases testosterone in men, and it literally changes the fat switch in women, allowing them to lose weight around their belly, buttocks, hips, and thighs. That 3-step program starts with botanical ingredients that have been shown to control the stress response or control the stress hormone cortisol. The premier brain nutrient that does that best is phosphatidylserine, but not just any generic phosphatidylserine. You're at risk if you go to a vitamin store or a health food store, you're at risk of buying phosphatidylserine that comes frankly from China. The kind that's been clinically studied and validated and patented is an Italian-designed material. It's really important to acquire the Italian-designed material. Now let's say you do that. Looking at phosphatidylserine, this ingredient is incredible. Take a look at your slide. It's a key cell membrane phospholipid. It's major structural support for healthy mitochondria. The take-home message is about 60% of your brain relies on phosphatidylserine as a structural component. It's a big part of your brain neural membranes, and it's also a structural part of the other cells in your body. In addition, It facilitates the membrane environment for at least 9 nerve transmitter receptors. That's incredible. Phosphatidylserine isn't involved in brain function from just a structural component, it's an actual functional component of brain cells. In addition, this wonderful ingredient can increase the percent of hippocampal tissue with nerve growth factor receptors in an animal model. That's incredible because those of us with a better percentage of hippocampal nerve growth receptors will actually have better brain function, better cognitive function, and better memory. So phosphatidylserine is the, quote, premier brain health nutrient. Now I want to bring your attention to this paper that I happen to publish in peer-reviewed Science. This paper lets us know that phosphatidylserine not just supports brain function or improves memory and brain function, it also is nutritional support for cortisol and oxidative stress. First of all, this ingredient supports healthy mitochondria. Remember the mitochondria theory of aging? We want to support healthy mitochondria in the brain and the body. It also attenuates the serum cortisol response to acute exercise stress. That means when you exercise hard, your body actually makes cortisol, and this ingredient changes that dynamic and limits the cortisol production. Very important to consume this ingredient sometime during the day before you exercise. Doesn't matter when, this needs to be sometime during the day before you exercise. In addition, listen to this, it blunts both the serum adrenocorticotropic hormone and the cortisol and salivary cortisol responses to stress. That means basically, whether we're talking about exercise stress or psychological stress, like work stress, family stress, financial stress, it will attenuate that or fix that cortisol response. Here's the key. By modulating the hypothalamic pituitary axis, the stress axis, phosphatidylserine causes our brains and bodies to produce less cortisol in a stressful encounter. Here's the beautiful part. It doesn't change how much cortisol your body naturally makes. Cortisol is a hormone we actually need, but it's a window hormone. It needs to be right in a very narrow range. If it goes too high, it's hypercortisolemic, and that's what we're talking about. It's a stressful event. If it's too low, it's a problem. Phosphatidylserine doesn't change normal cortisol. It just blunts, it changes that hypercortisolemic response that we incur whether we're psychologically or physically stressed. Beautiful, beautiful story. Take a look at the last bullet. Phosphatidylserine reduces oxidative stress, releasing Leydig cells from oxidative inhibition of testosterone synthesis and can improve testosterone status in men. This is one of 2 methods where phosphatidylserine boosts production of testosterone in an otherwise healthy man. Now take a look at this slide. This slide, the information on this slide, should really blow you away. First of all, look at the right-hand quadrant of your screen. This is the journal publication. This particular paper was published in the Journal of the International Society of Sports Nutrition. The title, The Effects of Phosphatidylserine on Endocrine Response to Moderate Intensity Exercise. This was a double-blind, placebo-controlled trial. Now that's the gold standard. That means a group of men were put on active phosphatidylserine, another group of men were put on a sugar pill, a placebo. They didn't know who was on the active or the inactive, and the researchers or the doctors, the researchers in this program, didn't know who was on the active phosphatidylserine and who was on the sugar pill. These are the results. Those guys exercising each and every day, they showed an improvement in testosterone, a decrease in cortisol, and it significantly increased the testosterone to cortisol ratio in comparison to placebo. Take a look at the bottom left-hand quadrant of your screen for some incredible information. Take a look at that chart. The black column are individuals that were taking the active phosphatidylserine. The white column were those individuals that were on the placebo, the sugar pill. This scale is taking a look at testosterone. That should blow you away. The black scale shows you how much testosterone the men made with phosphatidylserine during exercise. The white scale is how much testosterone was made with the placebo pill during exercise. Now, in medical terms, if that black column had been twice as large as the white column, it would be impressive. But you can see it's way more than that. It's almost off the chart the amount of testosterone that these otherwise healthy men made consuming phosphatidylserine before they exercised. Take a look at the middle chart. The white column is the amount of cortisol made in the men who were consuming the placebo pill, and the black column is the amount of cortisol made in the men consuming phosphatidylserine. That's what doctors call a blunting of the cortisolemic response. There's a very small amount of cortisol made in the men exercising taking phosphatidylserine compared to the literally gargantuan amount of cortisol that was made in the men consuming the placebo pill. So there's a huge, huge trend here. Take a look at the graph to the right. This is literally the cortisol-testosterone ratio. The black, again, are the men that consume phosphatidylserine. The white column, which is almost non-existent, are the men that consume the placebo. Take a look at the differences. Here's the deal. This paper shows you, it proves to you, that otherwise healthy men consuming phosphatidylserine in the right amount from the right source, the Italian-derived material, have a pronounced improvement in testosterone production during exercise. This is part of the magic of the testosterone program. It's part of the magic in the women's program too. To bring it all home, take a look at this particular paper. I want you to take a look at the right-hand quadrant of your screen. This was published in the Journal of the International Society of Sports Nutrition again, but a different title. It's titled Phospholipids and Sports Performance. I have to show you these 3 bullets because they say everything. Phosphatidylserine has been established as a safe oral supplement capable of attenuating the serum cortisol and creatine kinase responses to acute exercise stress. These findings suggest that phosphatidylserine partly counteracts the stress-induced activation of the hypothalamo-pituitary-adrenal axis. That's the stress axis. And in addition to physical stress, phosphatidylserine supplementation benefits subjects suffering from mental stress. Phosphatidylserine blunted both serum adrenocorticotropic hormone and cortisol and salivary cortisol responses to the Trier social stress test. Ladies and gentlemen, this ingredient works whether you're psychologically stressed at work or you're physically stressed from exercise. An absolutely phenomenal ingredient. Let me mention this too. Phosphatidylserine improves sleep quality. It helps you fall asleep easier, stay asleep longer, wake up feeling refreshed. That's a phenomenal benefit of this ingredient too. Typically improves mood, decreases anxiety in many people. This ingredient boosts testosterone in men and it controls the stress hormone cortisol in both men and women. You need this ingredient each and every day. May I please reiterate, this is the Italian source material, the clinically studied material. The clinically studied material and the patented material. It's very important that you seek only that form of phosphatidylserine. Now take a look at this. This is a before and after of someone doing the 3 steps. Now I've only shown you 1 step so far, but I want to show you the before and after because a lot of this is attributed to phosphatidylserine. Take a look at the bottom left-hand quadrant of your screen. You see that this guy had total testosterone below 200, definitely hypogonadal or definitely low testosterone. His free testosterone was 27.1. Take a look at the results that occurred right here at about 35 to 45 days later. He had testosterone that was above 700 and he had free testosterone that was above 70. Take a look at that. You can build this kind of testosterone with the 3 steps that I'm showing you right now. I just showed you step 1, consume phosphatidylserine to blunt that stress hormone cortisol. I also like to add to this ashwagandha, but not just any ashwagandha. I'm using a very specific type of ashwagandha, or rather I'm recommending a very specific type of ashwagandha that's been clinically studied for over 14 years. It's the most relevant, I believe, clinically studied ashwagandha on the market today. Okay, here's the grand finale for phosphatidylserine. I can't go through phosphatidylserine and just talk about its benefits for healthy stress management and cortisol control because the original science on this ingredient was being a brain health ingredient. I believe one of the mechanisms that causes it to be such a premier brain health ingredient is it protects the hippocampus in the brain from that oxidative damage and from basically neuronal death caused by stress. That's my opinion, but take a look at this. This is a paper that I was blessed and lucky to be a part of. I got to co-author this particular published paper. Take a look at the highlights. Phosphatidylserine benefits human cognitive functions, the formation of short-term memory, the consolidation of long-term memory, the ability to recreate new memories, the ability to retrieve memories, the ability to learn and recall information, the ability to focus attention and concentrate, the ability to reason and solve problems, language skills, and the ability to communicate. Phosphatidylserine also supports locomotor functions, especially rapid reactions and reflexes. And don't forget again, this ingredient improves sleep quality and circadian rhythms, meaning you fall asleep easier at night, you stay asleep longer, and you typically wake up refreshed. That's one of the common mentions about this ingredient in testimonials and also in the peer-reviewed research literature. This ingredient originally was the premier brain health nutrient. Only recently have we figured out, so to speak, that it's an awesome stress management ingredient. Again, always demand the Italian design material because there's nothing else like it. It's the patented version, it's the clinically studied version. Now, step 2 of step 3, this is the second step of my 3-step program, is to consume foods that support healthy hormone balance in both men and women. And this step is actually really critical to the success of the program. Overall, this whole program is built on Loren Cordain's work, which is basically the paleo diet. The type of diet that works for this program is either paleo or what's called modified keto, and that's a ketogenic diet that's just loaded with more vegetables. But right now, we're going to focus on the benefits of the paleo diet. Why the paleo diet works so well is it's an antioxidant-rich, low glycemic diet. Now, tying it together, antioxidant-rich means it protects your brain and body from oxidative damage. And I established when you're stressed that that's really, really important. The second factor is really huge, and we're not limited to just 2 factors, but the second factor is really huge. Consuming a low glycemic, antioxidant-rich diet for just 7 days will significantly improve your insulin sensitivity. Take a look at your slides. Reducing the glycemic index of an individual's diet for just 7 days or 12 weeks produces an increase in the individual's insulin sensitivity and decreases the fasting plasma insulin concentration. This is incredibly important because in a man's body, insulin can also be a testosterone switch. When insulin's high, testosterone's low, so you got to fix that particular switch. This isn't critical for all men, but today, in the aging population of men that I've dealt with for years, it's a really big factor for many men. Also for women, this switch is very important to help encourage healthy fat loss. So this diet is perfect for both men and women. For those of you that don't know what paleo is, it's very easy to do. Take a look at your slide. It's basically an alkaline, low glycemic, antioxidant-rich diet that's made up 25% of natural proteins and 75% vegetables, seeds, nuts, nut butters, low glycemic fruits, berries, etc. What's unique about this diet is it's higher in fat than the quote standard American diet, but it's a lot lower in carbohydrates. Take a look at the picture at the top left-hand quadrant of your screen. You see those foods? All of those are paleo friendly. Now I don't know about you, but I could eat that way each and every day. Take a look at the top right-hand quadrant of your screen. That would be a perfect paleo lunch or dinner. I hope that looks good to you. That's the way I eat each and every day. That would be the perfect lunch for me. All kinds of vegetables, the wonderful salad dressing that you want, and some lean free-range chicken. That's the perfect lunch right there. And take a look at the bottom right-hand quadrant of your screen. That's dinner. That's actually a dinner my wife made for me. That in the middle is wild Alaskan salmon grilled. On the right side is zucchini. By the way, I've never been a fan of zucchini, but zucchini's on that plate that particular night. And on the right side is mixed vegetables. The key, most of what you're eating is plant-based. Most of what you're eating is vegetarian, and you put some lean proteins in there, and you've got the paleo diet. Now I want to mention something because I think it's kind of fun to bring up. The paleo diet talks about the Paleolithic period of human evolution. And I got to tell you, I think the name is pretty much a lousy name for the diet because it causes all kinds of people, at least I've seen, say, hey, I don't want to eat like a caveman. That doesn't sound good to me. You know, when I think caveman, I think a guy that's diseased, running around all fours, dirty, smelly. I don't want to eat like that. The reality is it's not really a paleo diet. It's a diet where you reduce or eliminate grain consumption and increase the vegetables that you eat. And Loren Cordain's point with the paleo diet is if you take a look at our family tree, as far back as you want to look, that's exactly how humans have consumed food. This idea of eating grains with every meal is only recent in our history here on Earth. Only very recent, actually, a couple thousand years. And his point is our bodies aren't really genetically adapted to eat the amount of grains that we're eating each and every day. Now, when we're young, we're 15, 16, 18 years old, we can eat as many grains as we want. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, our body can deal with it. But typically, after the magic age of 30, when things seem to start to go wrong in the human body, we can't metabolize grains as well as we did when we were younger. So this becomes a real problem for healthy hormone balance. Now, when I give live lectures, I have an example that I want to share with you, because to me, this is really more of what the paleo diet really is. I want you to imagine with me that right now, it's going to be a funny imagining, but imagine with me, we have a time machine that you and I can get into. And we're going to get in that time machine tonight and go back 200 years to eat dinner with your great-great-great-grandfather. What do you think he's going to serve for dinner tonight? According to history, it's most likely he's going to serve protein for us. And when he serves protein, it's probably going to be a free-range organic chicken. That's the perfect lean protein. In addition, it's going to be all of the seasonal vegetables he has access to. So if it's summertime, he's going to go out there and pick the garden, the top, the best, the most ripe vegetables for you and I to eat tonight. There's going to be a ton potentially of healthy protein and a ton of vegetables. There's going to be seeds, nuts, and by the way, not too many grains. If you take a look at our history, we just weren't eating grains like we are today. They didn't store well, they molded a lot, and they were heavy. They were hard to transport around. So it was vegetables, usually seasonal, and meats, lean, organic, range-free or free-range meats. That's what we would have for dinner with him. And by the way, that's the paleo diet. Dinner time tonight, take a look at the bottom right-hand quadrant of your screen. You can have zucchini, mixed vegetables, and some wild Alaskan salmon. Again, look at the top right-hand quadrant of your screen. Dinner or lunch, you can have all the vegetables you want, the salad dressing that you love, plus some lean, healthy, free-range chicken. That's the paleo diet. The beautiful part of paleo is it's actually really easy to do today. If you go online to Amazon.com or you'd go to any bookstore, you're going to find hundreds, literally, of books that show you how to eat the paleo way, show you how to cook the paleo way, shop the paleo way. The paleo diet is really the way to go. What I've seen for men and women is those that will eat the paleo way for 30 days, they'll do the best they can to stay away from grains, eat tons of vegetables, seeds, nuts. These people will lose significant weight and restore healthy hormone balance, especially if they're consuming phosphatidylserine at the same time and ashwagandha to help control the stress response. That's exactly what I've seen. So that's the paleo diet. It's extremely easy to implement today. Now I want to show you this last slide with regards to the paleo diet. On the right-hand quadrant of your screen, I'm showing you the very paper that was published by Loren Cordain. This guy is an incredible researcher. He's a PhD researcher from the University of Colorado. And what's amazing about this paper is it's easy to read. It's actually fascinating. That's why on your slide, I say recommended reading. If I can give you a homework assignment, maybe another homework assignment, I'd like you to read this paper. I say that because it is eloquently written. Now, I'm saying that I've published 5 times in peer-reviewed research. My stuff's not eloquently written. This reads really well. It's a page turner. He shows you the history of diets for human beings, and what will literally blow your mind is the kind of research he and his colleagues have gathered from all around the world to prove it. I believe this is the only scientifically substantiated diet on the planet today, and that's saying a lot. If you go to Barnes & Noble or a bookstore or Amazon.com, you'll find thousands and thousands, literally, of diet books all telling you different ways to eat. But the real question is, how have humans eaten forever? If we go up our family tree, generation after generation, how have we eaten? Again, Loren Cordain says we were genetically created to eat a certain diet, and all of the diseases that we experience today in this country, including hormone imbalance, occur because we've drifted away from that healthy diet. And again, that healthy diet is the paleo diet. So this paper is actually available online. If you go, take a look at that paper, freeze the video, take a look at the title of that paper. If you do a search on it, you'll go to the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. You can click and free download that as an Adobe file. I highly recommend that you read it. I don't think you're going to dislike me for reading it. I think it's going to really serve you in many ways. It's going to help you understand arthritis in your family, inflammation in your family, and all kinds of itises and problems that we're experiencing today. According to Loren Cordain, take a look at the left-hand quadrant of your screen. There are 7 nutritional characteristics of our diets that have changed in the last just couple thousands of years. And again, because we're not eating as we were created genetically to eat, that's where all the disease is manifesting. And I really think he's right. The first one is glycemic load. We're eating way too many sugars today, and the paleo diet addresses that. Number 2, fatty acid composition. This is a big one. Our ancestors ate fatty acids in a ratio of about 1:1 for omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids, the 2 big fatty acid groups. Today, we're at a 12:1 ratio imbalance, consuming more omega-6s than omega-3s. And that's a problem because omega-6 fatty acids are inflammatory. So imagine, forever, there's been a balance between omega-6s and omega-3s. Now we're consuming way too many omega-6s, which inflame us from head to toe. That inflammation also gets in the way of your fat loss efforts and your efforts to normalize hormones in both men and women. The third one is macronutrient composition. We're not eating the same ratios of proteins, carbohydrates, and fats as our ancestors. We're eating way too many carbohydrates, and that's fueling our bodies gaining fat, adipose tissue. That's a huge problem also with hormone imbalance. Next, micronutrient density. This is a big one you've probably heard about. Farmland just a few years ago had much more trace elements in it than our current soil. In other words, our soil quality has gone down. When we go to the grocery store to buy vegetables, they don't taste, look, or feel anything like they did just 40, 50, 60 years ago. You know this. If you go to a fresh farmer stand and buy local homegrown tomatoes, don't they taste totally different than what you find at the supermarket? Have you noticed it's common to find tomatoes at the supermarket that don't even taste like much of anything? But you go to a farmer's market, and when you pick a tomato that's in season, it just tastes absolutely delicious. The difference in taste is as big as the difference in nutritional content. So when we have mass-produced conventional foods, many times the macronutrients, the vitamins and minerals, are much, much lower than the homegrown variety, and that's a big problem. In addition, acid-base balance, we're consuming way too many acids today and not enough alkaline foods. We can correct that by consuming more vegetables. That's a big issue for hormonal balance as well. And then there's the sodium-potassium ratio. The foods that we're eating, because they're processed, have way too much loaded sodium in them. In the past, we ate more potassium than sodium. I personally don't believe that table salt is bad. What I think is bad is we're not consuming enough vegetables to make sure we're consuming more potassium than sodium on a daily basis. And finally, the obvious one, the fiber content of our food is totally different than it used to be. Used to be our ancestors were eating tons more fiber than we're eating today, and that's contributing to colon cancer and all kinds of imbalances in our digestive system, including a change in our gut biome, which scientists says may have everything to do with brain health, neurotransmitter formation, and virtually every other health issue in our bodies. So take a look at gut flora. That's the expanding category that's really fascinating today. And again, the right kind of fiber feeds the right kind of healthy gut flora. We need more fiber in our diet. And Lauren Cordain in this paper talks about specifically the kinds of fiber we need. Most often, you can just get more fiber by eating more vegetables. So take a look at those 7 steps. Each one of them, in some way, shape, or form, affect your blood sugar, inflammation, or hormonal health in both men and women. This is, again, why we recommend the paleo diet, because it's a science-based way to eat. It's quite proven, and I've seen results in my practice and doctors' practices across the country with this particular diet. Highly recommended. And finally, for the grand finale, we have step 3 of 3, which is high-intensity interval training. If you've heard any of my talks in the past, you recognize that I recommend that we all exercise 10 minutes a day the right way, which is high-intensity interval training. Let me show you the benefits of this type of exercise. Take a look at your slides. High-intensity interval training first improves insulin sensitivity. And remember, insulin sensitivity is imbalanced when we're stressed, so it's one of the first things we want to restore to help restore healthy hormone balance in both men and women. In addition, a single bout of high-intensity exercise, doesn't matter what it is, cycling, running, virtually anything. If we do this to exhaustion or near exhaustion, it increases whole body insulin sensitivity. So one of the best things we can do is high-intensity interval training to help improve our body's insulin sensitivity, which will actually decrease your body's production of insulin. In addition, regimens as short as 7 days are as effective in increasing insulin sensitivity as are regimens lasting several months. But there's a big however. Take a look at the bottom left-hand quadrant of your screen. The exercise-induced increase in insulin sensitivity is negated or abolished in those who consume high GI foods. So here's the deal. In my 3-step program, the Testosterone Switch or the Better Body program, I tell people to go full tilt with the diet and the exercise and the nutritional protocol for 30 days. And what I mean by that is stay away from the high glycemic foods for 30 days to normalize your insulin response really, and to not abolish or negate all the benefit that comes from exercise and eating right. In other words, you can't eat right and then cheat all over the place. I found that you can have a cheat day. For example, Saturday or Sunday can be the day that you eat virtually anything you want, but you cannot cheat each and every day because you'll completely erase all the benefits of the exercise and the eating right. So listen to me clear if you don't mind. You can have a cheat day. You can choose Saturday or Sunday to be your cheat day to where you eat apple pie, ice cream, anything or everything that you want to, but at least 6 days of the week you have to be completely clean with your diet and stay away from high GI foods to have all these benefits that we're talking about. And I promise you, the benefit there will be in men, you'll make more testosterone if you're exercising in the presence of phosphatidylserine, and in women, you will lose weight around your belly, buttocks, hips, and thighs. So just play full tilt with me for 30 days to notice those improvements in your own body. Okay, here's the beautiful part of exercise done the right way. When you choose to engage in 10 minutes, just 10 minutes, of high-intensity interval training each and every day, not only do you improve insulin sensitivity, not only do you have a hormonal balancing effect for both men and women and a boost of testosterone in men if you chose to exercise in the presence of phosphatidylserine, but there are also brain-body benefits that most people don't talk about. Did you know that exercise done the right way will boost growth hormone? And this is an anti-aging elixir from your head to your toe. You'll look better, you'll feel better, you'll age slower if you have higher growth hormone, and our bodies make all that we need when we exercise properly. The next thing is exercise significantly improves cholinergic brain function. The cholinergic region of the brain is a region of your brain dedicated to memory, focus, and concentration. You can actually improve that with exercise. To me, that's amazing. In addition, it improves sleep quality. Did you know if you exercise every day, during the day, anytime, it will help to reset your circadian rhythm? That's the rhythm that tells your body to fall asleep at night and wake up in the morning. That also improves sleep quality. Remember, phosphatidylserine does that too. I found when you do the two in concert, people remarkably talk about waking up feeling more refreshed than they did before exercising phosphatidylserine. In addition, it elevates mood or decreases depression. Did you know that physical exercise is as effective at decreasing the symptoms of depression as depression medication? That's a medical fact. In addition, it reduces stress. Like I said, it resets the stress response. It also improves focus, concentration, and memory by what I mentioned earlier, improving the cholinergic region of your brain. Exercise also powerfully induces the expression of neurotrophins. That's nerve growth factor and brain-derived neurotrophic factor. These things are like miracle grow for brain cells. There's an ingredient that actually does this. It's lion's mane mushroom. It also improves nerve growth factor. This is incredible. Nerve growth factor for brain cells is exactly what I mean for it to say. It's like putting fertilizer on brain cells, helping them to grow and make new connections. My point is, lion's mane mushroom is awesome, but exercise is absolutely phenomenal for all of the benefits it brings both your brain and your body. Take a look at this visual, which is really telling. Okay, this was done in rats, laboratory animals. The top image that you're taking a look at is brain-derived neurotrophic factors in an area of the brain known as the dentate gyrus. The bottom image is again brain-derived neurotrophic factor in the area of the brain called the dentate gyrus. If you take a look at the exercise rats, you'll see much more lighting around the dentate gyrus compared to the image below. It kind of looks like you're in an airplane flying over a city, and the first city at the top is lit up really well, where the bottom city at the bottom is not lit up well at all. That's an example. When you take animals and exercise them, it actually improves brain-derived neurotrophic factor, and you can measure that. Again, it's like miracle grow for brain cells. So the brain health benefits of exercise done the right way are just actually spectacular. I have to say, wow. If you've made it this far in this presentation, not only do I congratulate you, but I thank you for spending that much time with me, and I sure hope that you found this to be of as much value as I believe it is when I share it with people that I know, love, and care about. Again, this has been the most popular talk I've given in 25 years. The last talk I gave had attendance of over 2,500 people, which absolutely blew my mind. And I'm saying that not to impress you, but literally to impress upon you the need for this information. So I'm hoping you'll share this with your friends, your family, everyone you know, love, and care about. In summary, here are the 3 steps. Number 1, nutritional ingredients that control the stress hormone cortisol. You know I love the Italian designed phosphatidylserine and the right kind of ashwagandha, pomegranate, and cordyceps like I recommend in the Testosterone Switch book. Number 2, we want to eat right the paleo way each and every day to create a healthy hormone balance in both men and women. And step number 3, we want to exercise the high-intensity interval training way that I describe in my Testosterone Switch book to boost both growth hormone and create a healthy lean body composition for both men and women and hormonal balance. What I've seen in men and women is we can restore healthy hormone function if we control that stress hormone cortisol, eat right, and exercise. So what I always share with patients, and I ask doctors to share with their patients, is try this program full tilt, 100% for just 30 days, so you can prove to yourself how fantastic you can feel again. In men, literally men that are 40, 50 years of age, I've seen their testosterone normalize back to like they were 30 again. And words can't describe to you how fantastic it feels to be 50 and your testosterone to be 30. For women, I've seen weight, it almost seems like it melts off their belly, buttocks, hips, and thighs. It seems like controlling the stress hormone cortisol gives their body permission to lose weight in those stubborn areas where they've struggled to lose weight. Do this program for 30 days. Do it for yourself as a gift to yourself. Do it as a gift to your family. Again, I'm Dr. Kyle Smith, and I thank you so much for spending time with me and finishing this talk today.